It's a battle of the titans, two iconic superheroes, two critically acclaimed video games, one epic showdown. In the red corner, the friendly neighborhood web-slinger, Spider-Man. In the blue corner, the Dark Knight detective, Batman. Both Marvel's Spider-Man and Batman Arkham Knight have redefined superhero gaming, offering exhilarating open worlds, pulse-pounding combat, and gripping narratives. But which one reigns supreme? In this video, we'll be slinging webs and grappling hooks as we dive deep into both games. So buckle up, true believers and Bat fans, because we're about to determine the ultimate champion. Hit that subscribe button and get ready for a web-slinging, gadget-blasting, hero-on-hero showdown. It is no secret that the Batman Arkham series, that started with the critically acclaimed title, Batman Arkham Asylum, set the standard for modern superhero games. Every good third-person superhero game since then needed to follow the standards set by Rocksteady in order to achieve success. Spider-Man is no exception here, as the game mechanics, especially the structure of the fights, were almost identical, save for Spider-Man having some additional abilities related to his wall climbing and swinging powers. In that aspect, Spider-Man really followed a great source, since the game mechanics of the Arkham series was one of the things we loved about the whole series. Spider-Man did elevate the original concept, but that is not surprising as the industry developed over the years between the initial Arkham games and the release of Spider-Man. Spider-Man had much more complex fighting techniques, and the coordination was much more complex to achieve, despite Batman having a more fluid and individual fighting style. The thing is that Spider-Man uses his gadgets and the environment much more than Batman does. Batman fights his opponents hands-on and kicks their butts, while Spider-Man focuses on flair rather than just pure ass-kicking. Arkham Knight's problem with this element was that it did not improve on its predecessors, opting to use a well-known formula rather than to experiment, as the creators of Spider-Man did. This doesn't mean that Arkham Knight's mechanics are bad, they're just not new. As for the general design of the worlds and the characters, we have to state that both games really set the bar very, very high. Namely, the worlds that these games wanted to create are really immense, and for the game to be realistic as it was effective, the designers needed to do a good job, and they did. We're not going to dive into the technical aspects of the design simply because I am not expert in that field, but I can give you an aesthetical analysis. Batman Arkham Knight was the most ambitious of the Arkham games when it comes to world building, since it included the largest map in the series. The designers really did a great job in this aspect, reaching the same level as the acclaimed Arkham City game. Arkham Knight's Gotham City was not only large, but it was also very diversified and perfectly executed. There were a lot of different parts of town you could explore, both interior and exterior, and the designers really did a great job to make it not generic. The same goes for the character design, especially the changes that had to be made in order for the characters to fit into the general tone of the whole game. As for Spider-Man, the designers had, in an aesthetical sense, a somewhat easier job because New York is a real-life location, so they just had to translate it to the game. I don't know whether that's technically more complex than designing everything from scratch, but it's certainly simpler from an aesthetical point of view. What they did was a great job, and you really had the feeling that you were in New York City while playing the game, especially since the game allowed you to explore a portion of the town. But New York is not the thing that made Spider-Man's design so great. It was the character design. Namely, Arkham Knight, while using mostly human characters, worked in a very dark and very masked environment, while Spider-Man had to work with real people in a real-life setting. This was certainly demanding, but the designers managed to make the characters look very realistic, despite some of the NPC civilians on the streets being obviously generic. This aspect is where Spider-Man really outdid itself. This is where both games, likewise, did great. Namely, regardless of all the technical aspects and even the great stories, both Spider-Man and Arkham Knight were great because the protagonists really had weight and their stories were truly amazing. In Arkham Knight, Batman has to deal with some serious psychological trauma following Joker's death, including another great performance by Mark Hamill as the hallucination of Joker, while having to stop Scarecrow from destroying both Gotham and himself. The danger is there, and the risks of this mission are real as you go through the missions and advance further into the story. It's not just a superhero video game, but a truly emotional journey that really shows how much the writers care about Batman's character. Spider-Man was created in a similar fashion, but in a more lighter tone, as is expected. What the writers did especially good was the fact that they did a great job with both Spider-Man and Peter Parker, balancing out the turmoils of both characters quite well. The story might not have been as emotional and as deep as Batman's, simply because there wasn't so much at stake, but it was still incredible, especially Peter's relationship with Dr. Octavius.
You are everything I wanted to be!
As for the villains, Batman's villains are generally better, and although Spider-Man did a good job portraying the villains, Batman's villains still had more depths and were a bit more interesting when compared to Spider-Man's. As for the other characters, they were mostly great in both games, with Spider-Man having a great Peter-MJ dynamic and the introduction of Miles Morales, and Arkham Knight having a great secondary cast of heroes and a great story for Jim Gordon. In the evolution of video game storytelling, Spider-Man and Arkham Knight stand out as prime examples. Arkham Knight, designed as a conclusion to the Arkham series, successfully maintained narrative standards while crafting its own emotional tale. Despite minor missteps, it delivered an intriguing main story, complemented by captivating side quests and DLC missions that expanded the Arkhamverse lore. Spider-Man, on the other hand, excelled not in concluding a series, but in establishing one. It provided an impeccable origin story, seamlessly blending non-superhero elements with superhero dynamics. While facing some challenges, Spider-Man's narrative made a significant impact on the franchise, akin to Arkham Asylum's role in the Arkham series. Both games reach a pinnacle in storytelling, each perfect in its own distinct way, making it impossible to declare a winner in this category. When it comes to side quests, Arkham Knight raises the bar with diverse and challenging missions, even integrating other heroes like Nightwing and Robin. While some are repetitive, they contribute to a larger narrative context, enhancing the overall gaming experience. On the flip side, Spider-Man's side quests suffer from a lack of diversity and often feel repetitive, diminishing the overall impact. Arkham Knight triumphs in the side quest department, offering engaging and varied missions that contribute significantly to the game's narrative and overall enjoyment. Spider-Man falls short with repetitive quests that lack the depth and diversity seen in its Arkham counterpart. Batman: Arkham Knight introduced the Season of Infamy DLC expansion pack, featuring 4 additional missions with iconic supervillains. While some missions were more captivating than others, like the exceptional Mr. Freeze storyline, overall, they effectively expanded the main narrative, providing closure for certain characters. The DLC not only added new missions, but also introduced fresh areas to explore, making it a worthwhile investment for players seeking an extended Arkham experience. On the other hand, Spider-Man's DLC, The City That Never Sleeps, consisted of 3 chapters, namely The Heist, Turf Wars, and Silver Lining. These missions delved into additional story elements and brought more prominence to characters like Silver Sable and Black Cat. However, akin to the game's side quests, the DLC suffered from repetitive combat, diminishing the overall novelty. Despite these similarities, both Arkham Knight and Spider-Man's DLC offerings stand on equal ground, providing enriching content that complements the main narratives of their respective games. Batman: Arkham Knight has a legacy to live up to, and while it did not disappoint, it did not bring many new things to the whole series. Spider-Man, on the other hand, while not being fully independent of its superhero predecessors, was original and a truly refreshing game in the genre. This is why I think that Spider-Man offers a slightly better overall experience than Arkham Knight, but we have to stress out that neither of them can compete, not even close, with Arkham City, which is by far the best comic book superhero video game ever.